Looks like some guy didn't like the king of Hortensia's reward. So he turns into a werewolf and kills him, right before the eyes of his daughter, Princess Mariel too. At the same time, the Camellia rebels rise up to ambush and attack the guards and people of Hortensia. Fernando Albert, Maurice Baudelaire, and Adelheid Olivier heard the Duke of Camellia is rebelling. They go save the princess in time, but Fernando fights till his last breath against the werewolf. Alfred, who is Fernando's son, thought father has returned. Nope, it's Uncle Maurice. Alfred being given his father's sword. I guess you know what that means. A brief history tells us Hortensia is blessed with fertile land and other nations always wage war for it. Thanks to its principalities of Olivier and Camellia, they stayed safe. Until Grand Duke Rugis Camellia revolted. With the king dead and Mariel missing, a young Prince Charlotte took over the throne. Maurice resigns from his royal palace position so as to serve and train Alfred, who has become the lord of his dominion. Non Noria Folly, the emotional maid, is panicking that Marius is gone. He is the boy whom Maurice picked up when his village was burnt down during the rebellion. Yeah, he is depressed how things worked out. Everyone has problems. Alfred finds him, and although they're sad about their lost loved ones, they vow to do something about this and get stronger. 4 years later, Alfred, with Marius as his squire, leads his troops to stop the advancing Camellia forces at the Erp forest. When they arrive, they find all their men dead. The survivors are killed off by Roy Baccarat, who is an expert archer. Alfred and Marius take on him but are inexperienced. Only with Maurice's help, they manage to stay alive, but by that time Roy has achieved what he wanted and has his troops retreat. Non-Noria glad Marius is okay, and Alfred remembering father's words to protect the things he loved. Yeah, you bet he is going to get stronger and become a knight like his dad always wanted. Alfred and Marius can't sulk forever, so they have each other to rely on and move forward stronger. A floating island called Magania is rumored to grant a wish to those who reach it, but is also rumored to be the source of the monsters that appeared in Hortensia during the rebellion and still roam around the countryside. Flashbacks to the night of Camellia's rebellion show Maurice spiriting Princess Mariel away from the castle with the help of fellow knight Georg Dalmas. Georg tells him the new pope of the Orthodox Church, Alexei Baldebran, secretly planned the coup behind the scenes so he could place Charlotte on the throne and rule Hortensia through him. As Maurice fled the castle, he asked Mariel to cut her hair to make it easier to hide her from their pursuers, which she reluctantly did. In the present, Alfred and Marius hear rumors of a shapeshifting monster terrorizing a nearby village. A young boy gets lost in the nearby caves, as Alfred and Marius go to rescue him. However, they get lost in the labyrinth, so Non-Noria Folly goes to rescue him herself. She manages to find the boy, but both of them are attacked by monsters, and are saved at the last moment by Alfred. Even though Charlotte is the current king of Hortensia, his underage status allows the Pope to appoint himself his legal guardian. Georg calls upon Maurice to investigate a quarantined village full of monsters that appear human. Maurice takes Alfred and Marius to the village, where they run into former bounty hunter Deflot Danois and a village full of zombies. Deflot does not trust them until Maurice informs him the bodies were not the dead villagers that Deflot grew up with. Deflot reveals that he was born in the village, and his father was the head priest who hated that he left, but the Pope quarantined the village to stop the spread of a plague, so the priest led the village in prayer until he was the last man alive. Soon after finding the priest's diary, the ecclesiastical knights threaten to burn what is left of the village, when a giant monster appears. Marius uses a flower that Deflot left to hold the monster long enough for the group to finish it off. Later, Deflot decides to join the group as they decide to find out if Georg sold them out to the church. With Camellia no longer allied with Hortensia, the Daerehan Empire has begun probing Hortensia's defenses. Alfred and his group come across a merchant caravan with everyone brutally slaughtered except for 2 Daerehan children. The group decides to take them to the Hortensia capital. At the capital, Georg tells Alfred and Maurice that he had nothing to do with the ecclesiastical knights trying to kill them. Suddenly, the main cathedral is attacked by monsters summoned by the 2 children from before, Saria and Elva, who demand the Pope hand over a relic that Rugis instructed them to find. Alfred and his allies break through the demonic ghosts surrounding the cathedral and manage to subdue the twins with the Pope's help. Suddenly, a giant dragon, the salamander of Maganian legend, breaks into the cathedral, but the Black Knight Didier Viardot quickly cuts it down with his large weapons. The salamander takes the twins and escapes the cathedral, later settling down in Camellia territory before transforming into a woman named Theresa. Meanwhile, Georg tells Maurice that the Pope and Didier were the ones with the authority to send the knights to burn the village without his knowledge. After Leon Olivier died during the rebellion, His daughter Adelheid was set to inherit the Olivier dominion. However, the church instead used the newly installed King Charlotte to make Olivier a vassal state under Hortensia. Alfred's party tries to meet with Adelheid to leverage Olivier against the church, but Didier arrives with several knights to arrest Adelheid for alleged treason against Hortensia. Marius and Deflot plan to fight back, and Alfred hesitates to raise his sword against Hortensia when Camellia suddenly stages an attack on Olivier's port. Didier's knights, Alfred's party, and Adelheid's forces all join together to repel the invaders, including Roy, who reappears on the battlefield. However, Roy mysteriously retreats with the rest of his forces midway through battle. After the battle, Alfred convinces Didier not to arrest Adelheid for now. Elsewhere, Duke Rugis explains that he simply wished to fake an invasion through Olivier to build up Adelheid and drive a wedge between her forces and Hortensia. But Roy and Therja believe there was another motive behind his decision. Marius tells Deflot about a legend of how a princess was protected by a giant. Alfred and Maurice then show up, revealing that a young woman claiming to be Princess Mariel has been spotted on Juin Island. When they arrive on the island, they witness the young woman addressing her volunteer army. Afterwards, the young woman learns the church is looking for her. Meanwhile, Saria and Elva have also arrived on the island. When the young woman, whose real name is Marie, is later confronted, she reveals she and her childhood friend Jim lied about her identity in order to give the island hope. As such, Marius decides to help her. While they are alone, Marie tells Marius how Jim has always looked out for her. She then decides to reveal the truth to everyone, which Jim agrees with. When they do so, they are attacked by Saria and Elva. However, when the fake giant approaches Marius, it disappears. The next day, Marie and Jim thanks Alfred's party for helping them. Additionally, Marie asks Marius to relay a message to the real princess. Alfred, Marius, and Deflot head to Kokon village after they hear a rumor that it is now a ghost town. When they arrive there, they learn that the village has been controlled by the church for nearly 2 years. Just then, a former priest named Adele shows up. He takes the party to Knoll Hospital, where he asks them to help him liberate the patients of the Petrodermic plague. However, Alfred is reluctant to act thanks to the power the church has. While they are underground, they are attacked by zombies. Once they reach the basement of the hospital, they are confronted by Dr. Graff and his bodyguard Gaston. Graff admits that he has been conducting experiments on the patients under the Pope's orders. After they defeat Gaston, Didier arrives and he discovers Marius' true identity. "Oh, Alfred, regretting that you shouldn't be in this cell. Should have thought about that before you got captured." He thought Lucan Deluche, who was a captain of the Royal Knights, would hear him out, but looks like he is in charge of this prison as he tells them that the witch will be executed. As Marius rues for dragging everyone into this mess, we see her Mariel counterpart being confronted by Charlotte. She claims she has been trying to keep this kingdom safe. However, he asks why didn't she come to save him then? Why did she leave him all alone? Please help. Trauma levels shooting up. I guess it's time to wake up for her interrogation. Can't wreck her pretty face, so Didier excuses the torturers as he knows well she is Mariel. He then lets her know the truth and unlocks her memories. After her mom died, her father dabbled in some forbidden magic in trying to bring her back. That is when Hortensia fell. So everything that has happened was because of him. Didier caught Mariel peeking around and sealed her memories. Now that Mariel feels so bad, I guess she's going to accept her death sentence. Meanwhile, Alfred and Deflot manage to escape because 2 stupid guards were only escorting them. They should have known better. But more guards come. Hell, here comes Maurice. Damn, an old dude is enough to turn the odds into their favor many times fold. Maurice stalls Lucan to let the rest go rescue Mariel. Wow, see them rush as Alfred rushes in time to barge into the execution area, kill some guards, and throw his sword to cut the rope. Great FC inconvenience. Now Alfred has to fight Didier. Yeah, he is going to lose at this rate, but he doesn't care, as long as he can rescue his page. But that won't happen because Bertrand, Adelheid, and her Olivier army as well as the Juin folks are here to help. How? Adele ran around Hortensia on his horse to call for help. Damn, Hortensia must be a small place. But how does he know Alfred's allies? Anyway, a big brawl. Reminds me of One Piece's War of the Best, whereby pirates versus marines trying to save Ace. Yeah, that. Lucan has now turned over a new leaf as he fights against Didier. He isn't alone as he has Adelheid and Maurice. When Alfred finally saves Mariel, Didier escapes. Mariel's still sad he risked his life for all this. Well, she's still family, right? Back home, Mariel reveals the truth about herself but still feels useless. She didn't do anything but caused everyone trouble. Cue for Alfred to tell about his dad's great words to be a knight. Because Alfred pledges his sword to protect her. After being briefed on the current situation, Rugis declares that a turning point of Hortensia's history is soon approaching. Meanwhile, Adelheid gives a speech telling the anti-church coalition to assemble in Olivier. Sometime later, she takes Alfred's party to meet a witch named Lacroix, who reveals witches are Maganian sentinels. She then uses her power to have Mariel relive her past prior to the rebellion. Mariel learns that her father's attempt to bring her mother back to life using a relic ultimately led to the tragedy that befell the kingdom. When she is given the opportunity to use it to undo the tragedy, Mariel refuses. Once Mariel awakens, Lacroix reveals the Pope has the relic and Mariel passed her trial. Thanks to this information, the party decides to head to the capital. Elsewhere, Therja reports this to Rugis. A couple of weeks later, Mariel rallies the Liberation Army. On their way to the capital, they are ambushed by Syria and Elva. As Didier informs the Pope that the Liberation Army is heading to the capital, Flegel Dreadnought arrives to let them know that he is ready for battle. Meanwhile, Roy drives Syria and Elva away, revealing Camellia will not take any hostile action toward the army. Just then, they are ambushed by a unit of ecclesiastical knights carrying unknown weapons. After defeating the knights, the army learn the weapons are muskets. The next day, the army notices the elite squads of the Royal Order are blocking their path. They then discover Flegel is the commander of said squads. Once the battle commences, Camellia forces team up with the army. As the elite squads are being overwhelmed, Flegel reveals he removed his grandfather Balthasar, causing his allies to abandon him. Later on, he challenges Alfred to a duel, which Alfred wins. Afterwards, Flegel is shot and killed. 3 days later, the Liberation Army arrives at the capital. While the army is battling the ecclesiastical knights, Balthasar shows up, revealing he survived. Elsewhere, Rugis, Syria, and Elva head to the capital. Back in the capital, Alfred, Deflot, and Maurice learn Jorg is fighting against them. As such, Maurice decides to take him on. Meanwhile, Didier confronts and overwhelms Alfred, Deflot, Mariel, and Adelheid. Just as Alfred is about to shield Mariel, she distracts Didier long enough to allow Alfred to defeat him. Afterwards, it is revealed that the Pope is secretly the king's son. Later on, Alfred, Mariel, Deflot, Maurice, and Adelheid are confronted by their deceased loved ones. 4 years ago, when the king failed to revive his queen, Alexis told him the relic's main source is the strength of the people's hopes and wishes. And because he is a well-known hero throughout the land, he suggested to make him angry in order to invoke that power. So as Rugis pleased to the king to lend more of his support to fight against the Deire, the king then accused him of being useless and brought up rumors of his plot to overthrow the kingdom. He is then arrested, but the last straw is when he ordered to burn everything down in Camellia. Rugis became overwhelmed with anger, and it is that power that turned him into a werewolf which he is unaware of and slaughtered everyone. Looks like Alfred and Adelheid could hear the voices of their fathers. They want to be killed so as to go in peace as their bodies are now being controlled by Alexis. After all that reminiscing and resolve, I guess it's finally time to put them to rest. Goodbye, fathers. And just like that, that is how you exorcist a spirit too. Maurice has received fatal damage from the fight, so he lets the young ones move forward. Want to spend some time with Fernando, eh? Heck, you'll be spending time with him from now on. Oops, oh dear. Rip Maurice. In the hall, they stumble into Charlotte. How the FCK does this kid recognize his older sister whom he has not seen for years? Anyway, looks like he is no longer brainwashed, so he gets out of the way so Alfred and Mariel can fight Alexis. Hope reveals he is behind all this just to unite the people with a common enemy. Of course, that is all BS, since he further reveals it is to make himself ruler of the land as his ultimate revenge against the royal family who treated his mom like a plaything. Oh my, the irony of a man of God summoning demon powers to fight. Damn, he's a hot sexy demon babe now. How can mortals fight him? Oh, that weird light power from Mariel helps imbue Alfred's sword with something. But all that isn't enough yet, as Rugis is here to settle the score. He has not forgotten that anger 4 years ago, and everything he did was an act that led up to this. With Rugis' help, Alfred and Mariel defeat Alexis. Rugis and Mariel talk about the relic that must be eliminated from this world. But he feels ashamed to fight alongside Mariel after years of seemingly betrayal. Oh damn, Alexis still alive and mocking at this pathetic scene. With the sky turning red, Rugis demands the relic, but Alexis says it is no longer here. It is now with Didier, as it belongs to him in the first place. Didier escapes and Rugis soon turns into a werewolf. Alexis gets killed by him, and as Alfred fights him, he too gets killed. OMFG. Rugis escapes. Dying Alfred lies in Mariel's arms. Lots of emotional talk. Don't die, please. Okay then, let's go home. Next thing we know, Mariel ascends the throne as queen as she addresses her kingdom to return its future that it was supposed to have. So all those dead still alive, including Alfred. However, Lacroix notes that in actuality, Mariel has committed a taboo. She invoked her secret power that revived things and has not realized that Alfred has actually died. So, a demon is inhabiting Alfred. This is the end of the video, so please watching all of my anime recap series. Thanks for watching.